Hey guys, this is Tony Whistler with Drive Facebook Live, and my good friend Dan Vasquez is our co-host this week. We have a great show for you today. We have Scott Restivo of Restivo's Wrenches out of Prescott, Arizona, and his coach with Drive, Roxie Hasso. Hi guys, how's it going?
Hello. Good, good.
Howdy.
So why don't we start this little shindig with you just letting everybody know a little bit about you, a little bit about the city, a little bit about the shop, anything you want them to know about, just in general about how the business kind of rolls.
Well, my name is Scott, and I started Restivo's Wrenches as a very different operation than it looks like today.
Mhm.
And that was probably about 4 or 5 years ago now. Um, it was a one-man band at first and strictly mobile, showing up in people's driveways, fixing their cars, and trying to help out in any way I could. Needed help quick and hired a couple guys, and one thing led to another. And where we're at now is a four-bay shop with 6 employees, and we are all very like-minded as a team, which is very different than the dynamic was to get to the point we are now. I had to learn the hard way how to hire properly, but things are in a good place right now, and um, I like playing. Most of my guys like playing as well. I'm snowboarding today, and only because we, beat our OBE this week on Thursday. So yeah. Anything else you want me to say here, Tony?
Yeah, well, I want to let everybody know that that's not a virtual background because you can see that little bird
I asked
flying
him the
by.
same thing. I was like, is that virtual?
He's he's out snowboarding today because he runs a really tight shop and they have the time to do that. So, and for anybody that doesn't know, OBE is a term we use here at Drive that refers to owner break even, which is the number that the shop needs to hit so that everybody makes a living, including the owner. And for any of you guys out there that haven't gotten there yet, if you're an owner, you kind of know what I'm talking about, where everybody gets paid but you. The owner break even, he gets paid as well, and
Mhm.
so he hit his OBE. Now are you talking about for the month or for the week or?
For the week, yeah, this week we beat it by a couple $1,000. So yeah.
That is awesome. That is really great. Now, how close are you right now to where your shop is? Because that is a beautiful background, and I can see that it's great ski. It's a great clearly a great ski town. So,
Well, this
how close?
this is actually about a 2 hour drive north of Prescott.
Hmm.
This is Flagstaff, Arizona. This is Snow Bowl behind me.
Very nice. I have actually driven through Flagstaff numerous times, so I'm familiar with Flagstaff, but I don't think I've ever been in Prescott. So
Yeah.
anyway, and then Roxy, tell us a little bit about your very, very successful client.
Oh man, let me think where to start. Scott actually was probably in the same place a lot of people find him when they first come on. Like you were just mentioning, Tony, that like I'm never gonna get past this break even. The number is very high, things are not in order. And I think one thing about him is that his personality is very much like I'm gonna get there. It's fine. We're gonna move forward. And I don't think there's ever been really a time, maybe where there was like some hesitation, like, okay, is this lady crazy or is what we're doing gonna work? But for
Well,
the
you
most
are. We all
part,
know you are crazy, but
well, just a little, it's a little bit, Tony, so it doesn't count. But yeah, just that willingness to have trust and really create a relationship with your coach is important. Where there is it's more than just, hey, you're my client, I need you to make these numbers, but we're invested in what they're doing both professionally and personally and trying to get them to those goals. I think is a really important dynamic. And from the beginning, Scott was very willing to kind of open up and share those things with me. And we've built a really great dynamic. And I think it's his energy and effervescence that really gets people. Like he is just determined to get things where they need to be. And even when there's setbacks, it's like, okay, that's fine. Like it's not going to throw us off the rails where we stay there. We're going to continue moving forward.
oh, that's awesome. It sounds like you're
Thank you,
describing.
Roxie.
You're
Sounds like
welcome.
you're describing a great client, is what you're
Yes.
like. You could almost distill it down to great client. Dan, you got any thoughts?
Well, yeah, it sounds like what you're trying to say is that he wasn't resistant to the changes and the successful actions that you've been asking him to put into place, and so that's great to hear. I was just curious, like specifically, what do you think some of the most successful actions that you've put into place that have really like affected the most change in the shop for you?
Um, the team, the people. I can work as hard as I want and still be working till 10:30 or 11 p.m. and just fixing the car myself and just trying making it work. But that's not how a business works, or at least one that's working. And that is, only comes with the right people that make your team up. And I had a lot of the wrong people on my team for a long time. And I had a lot of learning about humans in general and a lot of learning about myself as a human. And learned, that I learned how to put the correct team together. And it's funny because that's what I studied in college was group development. And I it's almost like when I started the business that went out the window to a certain degree, but I've tried to hone it back in and be like, look, if Andy isn't wearing his hat straight, then we're screwed. But even if Andy's wearing his hat straight and Jordan's not wearing his hat straight, then we're all screwed still too. So the reality is it took a while to build the team that I have now.
But it's a good team
Yeah,
now.
It's a
yeah, a
good
lot of
team.
truth in
It's a,
that.
it's a
That's
damn
good.
good team. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Great. That's
I think it
great.
speaks a lot to the resistance that a lot of owners have to confront whether they have the right people on their team or not. And I've noticed that there's a lot of hesitation, right, to move away from someone who might not be a productive person on your team. I think Scott actually went through that too. I remember having the conversation and like this light bulb went off in his head. Just 1 week out of all the weeks, he was like, "Holy crap, that's the problem."
Yeah.
And sometimes it's all it takes is the 1 week where it kind of penetrates through. But we always say like, don't let yourself feel hostage to the situation. Be very, very deliberate about the people who are on your team that we're all moving in the same direction. So that I know a lot of people still going through that today. So
That's
make
awesome.
sure we
Yeah.
get that out there.
Hey, so I got a thing that Dakota is watching. So
Yes.
that's
Hey,
exciting.
That's
Dakota.
crazy.
And that brings me to my next question. So you're a newlywed, right?
I am.
Tell us about that.
It was like living in a magical fairyland for a couple weeks while we got married. It was fantastic. We went up to Northern California, um, and spent some time with the trees and the ocean and our daughter. Um, and the cat didn't pop anything, and the dogs didn't break anything that we were using throughout the day for a whole 2 weeks because we didn't have them. So,
There you go.
Shout out
Well,
to Charlotte. Hi,
yeah, yeah.
Charlotte.
yeah, very
And the
cool.
shop didn't burn down while you were away.
And the
Everything kept
shop
moving.
didn't burn down. That's
Yes,
right.
I
Yeah.
love it. I love
That is awesome. Of course, Mark
No, and
Granum is
actually,
also,
I think
yeah,
it's sorry. I was
no,
just
go.
gonna say it's worth mentioning right there that the reality is that getting married was so spectacular for a number of reasons, but obviously my beautiful wife is 99% of that. But the thing that's mentionable is that my manager Andy, who I've been working with closely for the last couple of years, really took me being gone in strides and just handled it while I was gone. I didn't get a single work-related phone call the entire 2 weeks, and I've never
Beautiful.
experienced that before. And not only did I not get a call, I didn't get a call, you know, not because there wasn't problems that needed to be solved, but because the team was solving them. So,
That's when you know you're actually moving into a serious stage four. Like when
Mhm.
you can do that. That's amazing.
It's incredible.
We've had coaches who will run a little drill on a lot of their clients in the early stages and just say, "Hey,
oh
look,
yeah.
I need you to leave and just let's see what happens to your shop. I want you gone for 2 days while they're." And of course, I'm sure Roxy's like, "Okay, we're gonna run the drill, but we to make it really work, it's you got to get married and go on a honeymoon." That's probably I'm that's so Mark Granum is watching from Mobile Mark. He's a fan of the show. I'm so happy that he's watching.
Yeah.
We've had him on the show before. Anyway, So I wanted to talk a little bit too about just your general expansion. Like, like you want to tell us about how, the growth that you've had in the last year or so.
Sure. Well, the team that I talked about and the wow moment that Roxy talked about, that occurred probably about, I don't know, 10 months ago, something like that. So the reality is that, last year at this time was brutal. I didn't get to spend much time with my family, and I was sprinting up this hill of sand as fast as I possibly could, getting seemingly nowhere. But at a certain point, I sat down with Roxy, and it was just obvious, and we were looking at the numbers. And the hard part for me was that, I have a soft heart, and that was part of the whole reason I started this business, is because I think that you can't have a soft heart and fix people's cars. You don't have to be screwy. And the other edge of that sword is that I really love the people who have worked for me, and I put a lot of my heart into the people who have worked for me. And so it was difficult to say, you know what, like it's not working, and it's nothing personal, but my job is to make sure that the whole boat stays afloat, and you're not part of the crew. Um, but once that happened, finally we could focus on strategy overall, but then also within that strategy dialing in what a day-to-day process looks like, and day-to-day organization of communication, of parts, of of our technicians tools. And so at a certain point, we kind of started getting the process of, how to move a customer from step one to the finish line. um, and once that process was kind of figured out, then it kind of became clear that the next problem was that we were operating with 5 employees and 6 employees. I misspoke earlier. I have 7. With 5 or 6 employees, and we had 2 full-size outdoor lifts and one like max jacks. For those of you who don't know, the indoor lifts that are like for your weekend warriors to, you can lift a Camry, but you can't lift a Tahoe, put it that way.
Right.
And so I realized that that was then the point of friction for moving the shop forward, and that we needed either I needed to fire technicians and dial back how much work we had, which I didn't want to do. I wanted to keep the same amount of work. I just wanted to keep up with it. And so we, this past few months, have been working on an expansion where we added 2 more full-size lifts. And actually this week, company down the road from me is installing a structure that's going to cover up 2 of those outdoor lifts so that I can stop asking my guys to work in the rain and the snow and sleep better. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I was surprised when you said you had an outdoor lifts because I was under the impression that it got pretty cold there.
Well,
Um,
you wouldn't be wrong. You're absolutely not wrong. But, I think and this is why I can't help but come back to my team, because the reality is that my guys could go work at any shop. And the guys who have been with me for the past 4 years could go work at any other shop. And for some crazy reason, they choose to stay working for me, even though I have them working in the rain and the snow. And,
that's
um,
dedication, my friend.
it is, and you know what? It feels damn good to finally be at a place where we I can finally start, you know, putting a roof over their workspace. It
That's
sounds
awesome.
ridiculous, but it's we're
Yeah.
doing what we can. So
Yeah, that's great. So, and then of course, did you have a grand reopening when you did the renos, or are you even done
yeah,
with the renos
so
yet?
yeah, so after we're almost done. Like I said, the renovation should be done in the next 2 weeks here. The company that's installing the structure was delayed because of yada yada yada. Well, but the grand opening was cool because we had both the lifts installed, and actually, um, well, anyway, yeah. So we had the 2 new lifts installed, a bunch of new concrete poured. I got to rent an excavator and go dig up a bunch of dirt, which anyone who knows me knows that I love talking about that because that's just like a childhood dream to go like, I don't know, it's silly, but
Yeah,
um,
that's awesome.
it
I
was a
share your
blast.
dreams.
Yeah. No, but and another component of the expansion was that we're doing tires now too. That was something that I was hesitant to. We didn't, we up until this past, few months, I've told people the only thing we won't do are rebuild your transmission and tires, but I will replace your transmission. But now, I can take the tires entirely out of it. The reality is that even after doing it for a few weeks, there was a couple weeks where I was like, "Oh my God, was this a good decision?" But I mean, it took like 2 or 3 weeks, and once people started knowing that we were doing tires, now we've got a bunch of tire work. So overall, I think it was just a wonderful time. But we threw a party, had a barbecue for whichever customers wanted to show up, which were quite a few. Made burgers, and my wife was helping out, and yeah, it was a fun time.
That's
So.
awesome. So then, and then how did you market the grand opening? Was there like a marketing campaign behind it to try to pull a lot of people out?
Yes, in honest reflection, I think the marketing campaign could have been stronger. Um, I was, I think that if there's stuff like that in the future, I think that I need to, put more energy into it myself. I definitely delegated a good amount of the marketing for that to a couple people, but a lot of it was also word of mouth. We did a couple Facebook posts. Yeah, so but I mean, the reality is the turnout was just about exactly what I would have wanted. So,
Oh, well, there you go then. And the marketing worked the way
yeah.
it should have worked. And then, of course, I always have to ask whenever we talk about these kind of things, and I think Dan will be with me on this. Did you have a live band?
See, this is what I'm talking about, Tony. See, if I had put more thought into it, I'm sure there could have been something like that.
Not a party without a live band.
Right.
Like, did you say, well, we had a DJ, and I'd be like, just shake my head,
Yeah.
We had my daughter riding circles around everybody on her
That's
bike, on her little
that's
bike.
beautiful.
That's just as good.
That is wonderful. That is really great. Hey, I think we're at a spot where we might be able to do a commercial break.
Yeah, yeah, let's
You
go
want to do
ahead
the break, Dan?
and yeah, yeah, absolutely. So just a couple things to talk about. So next Friday we're going to be hosting David Goldsmith from Urban Classics. Tony and I will be co-hosting that show. We're also Carla Weiss, his coach, is going to be joining us. David's just going to be sharing about some of his successful actions in 2025 and how his intentional thinking and careful decisions kind of brought him success last year, and how he plans to just carry that on through 2026. I know David personally, he's in my top 20 group. He's just an amazing man. What he does on a day-to-day basis is just phenomenal. So I know it's going to be just a super interesting show. And
That's
then
great.
yeah, yeah. And then also, so midweek, Carla is going to be here on Wednesday. That's on the 14th at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, and she's going to have Kevin Reichel as well as John Starkey, two of our top leading shops here within the Drive organization, and she's going to be talking about 2026 and what they have in store for them and what they have planned as well. So that's going to be another great webinar that we're having. So, and I
Yep.
think we have a link, if not already posted, we'll get it posted on the Facebook feed here for you guys to join that if you like.
Yep. And it's good.
And that's all I have.
Awesome. Thanks, my friend.
Yeah.
And the thing about that webinar is they're going to dig into the way that they do their planning and how they create their future, basically. And so that'll be a great webinar. Those three are, like they have big brains, like for sure.
For sure.
So anyway,
Oh, and real quick too, Uncle Rod from Northern Michigan says hello, Scott. He's tuned in and watching. So
that's very cool. Very nice. Now, I wanted to also ask a little bit about community service. This is one of the things that Drive really actually cares deeply about. Most shops, when they're not doing that great and they're so locked in on just trying to keep the business surviving, once they get to a stage where they actually have a little bit of breathing room, we can talk about a more balanced life, like going snowboarding, but also most of our clients really get into community service as well, or helping. And I heard that you don't shy away from that kind of thing. Can you tell us a little bit about the stuff you've done, like with regard to that?
Sure. I definitely think that community is top priority, and if I don't know why you would have a business if you didn't care about the community that you have the business in. We don't need to go down that road, but I do. I care a lot because the reality is that I watched a lot of people that I know throughout life and care about or don't care about get screwed by mechanics, and the reality is that I didn't want that to be what I saw. And to kind of take it further now that I'm in the place that we are with the shop. I've met a couple people that are really, really great people. And specifically the one that comes to mind right now is a guy named Adam Nance. And he owns the Lower 22 Foundation, which is a nonprofit for veterans. And his mission is to lower veteran suicide rates through play and through activity and through community engagement. And as soon as I met him through a BNI group that I'm part of, which is a networking group. And um, I really liked his mission. And simultaneously, I try and find connection when I see people in, whatever light that is. And in this particular light, the first thing that went through my mind when I met him was just like, oh my God, like I have so many veteran customers, some of which, you'd never guess unless you got to know them, some of which are living a difficult life. And so for the customers that I have met that are in a tougher spot, I actually, one of my buddies is a veteran, and he introduced me to this company called the Nation's Finest. And the Nation's Finest basically is there for supplementing income for veterans for particular things, such as in certain circumstances, car repairs. And so we've had a handful of veterans where the Nation's Finest has paid for their repairs. And when I asked Adam with the Lower 22 Foundation if he was aware of this company, he was like, no, I've never heard of that. And I was like, that's crazy. We can create a power triad right here of three people that if we work together, we can take care of, people that have served their country. And so I put him in communication with them. And uh, simultaneously, we also donate a certain percentage of our tickets for veterans. If Basically, the way we set it up is that if a veteran comes in and says, "Hey, I'd like to pay the full ticket," I am going to donate 12% of that ticket to Adam's foundation so that he can use that to create events and help veterans in that light. Um, but we actually ran a special for November and ended up generating a few $1,000s of donations for his foundation. So that was a really cool experience to be able to be part of that.
That's great. That's really cool, man. I appreciate
It
that.
is, yeah.
Yeah. Any other thoughts, Roxy? Got anything to add?
I would say for sure this networking group that he mentioned, it wasn't something that Scott was like super involved in at the beginning. And it took him a little bit out of his, shell not to delegate and actually be the one to own that experience of going out and meeting people and connecting with business owners and other people in the community. And Prescott Valley specifically, there's this generation of people around his age that they're just leaders in that community. So it's something really special. And I would just encourage people to look for like-minded people in your area. You never know what connection you're going to make. Just like the one he was speaking on now. Excuse me. The ability to reach who knows how many people who served our country who needed that upper hand, just that little helping hand. And it all started with just a like I think I could make this connection. I could move here. Oh, we should have these two people talk. And it started at Restivo's Wrenches. It's like, come on, so you've got to make sure that you're getting outside of your box and outside of your comfort zone and dedicating some time to, whether it be outside sales practices, networking groups, going to mixers or events, but really getting to know the people in your community, not only how they can help you, but how you can help them, and making an impact on it is going to pay off in the long run.
That's great. Now, are you gonna, when we finish the show, are you just gonna go right back and hit the POW? Is that what you, are you gonna like,
That's the plan right now.
yeah. So, but you like to do mountain biking too, right? So is that like a
Yeah.
seasonal thing? You snowboard in this when it's snow on the ground, and you mountain bike when there's no snow on the ground? Is that how that works?
Yes, for the most part. And actually, normally my wife comes with me, and we ride together. But she's working today, and yeah, so it's definitely temperate though, because you can have a scorching hot day in Prescott, where it's almost too hot to go mountain bike riding, or it can be frigid cold. But that's the balance to try to ride, is ride bikes when it's warm and snowboard when it's cold.
Right. Now, did you shut the shop down for everybody because you hit the OBE and everyone took Friday off, or are you, is that how that worked? Exactly?
No, they're still there working. And actually, about 20 minutes ago, right before we started the show, I was checking in with Andy, who's the manager there, and he was basically went through everything that they did in the morning, and was like, unless we have any walk-ins, we don't have more to do today. I wanted to check with you if I can send the guys home, and I was like, I appreciate you checking in with me, but if you've got nothing for them to do, you're the boss. So get them out of there. So they ended up going home at about 1:30, which was, I'm pretty happy that that was able to happen for them as well.
That's awesome. So you're so close. You're so close to a
Yeah.
410 shop. Right now, you're going Monday through Friday. We do have more than a few shops in our program that have
Yeah.
pulled the trigger and gone to a 410 schedule. Have you guys ever talked about doing that?
I don't think we have. Yeah, that hasn't been a topic of conversation. We've kind of all, for the most part, been I'm being a little degenerative right now, being here snowboarding. I should be working, but
It's okay.
the reality is we all pretty much, we like to work through Monday through Friday and get the thing done. So
Yeah, cool. So Dan, I can't remember because I thought you might be considering it. Are you a 410 shop or are you a 5 day a week shop?
I'm a 5 day a week shop, but we are closed Saturdays, Sundays.
Right.
Yeah, and that's working for us. We're in California, so we're in a little different area, different regulations, rules, things like that. But it's not something that we haven't talked about or haven't considered, but it's not in the immediate future. But yes, speaking of the immediate future, just in the spirit of what week it is, Scott, I was just curious. I mean, you've made so many strides, leaps and bounds this last year. It's awesome, and it can be hard to top. But I know that you're a super high energy guy. I know you got a lot of motivation. So I'm just curious, what have you and Roxy talked about for 2026? What are you wanting to conquer this year?
well, the most recent thing that we were talking about was, um, I think, to boil it down, like efficiency, and that's pretty much always what our conversations boil down to, is efficiency. But uh, once we get this structure built up over the two lifts, I think that should help out immensely. But I also think that, you know, I'd I'd really like to be able to spend more time learning about becoming a master of the specifics of my business. And what I guess I mean by that is, I have kind of two primary targets in my mind right now. And one is that the shop management software that I'm using right now, I know that I could learn more about that, in being able to analyze the numbers, because it gives me a ton of data. And I don't think that I've been utilizing all of that data as well as I can. And Drive has always brought me back to, you want to lead by numbers, and you want to manage with numbers. And I've made progress in that regard over the past year, but I think that there's definitely more improvement that needs to be made there. Um, yeah, and I can't think of what the other thing is, but that's kind of what I would like to. I think it's kind of falls in the same regard. The other comment was that I wanted to have a closer relationship with my accountant and be able to be more on top of that section of numbers as well.
Yeah, that's great. Um,
Love it.
that
Yeah, that's
I
good.
I agree. Like getting the numbers dialed in is really important. We are very close to the end of the show, guys. That was the fastest 30 minutes I've experienced in a while.
Yep.
Just
Yeah,
wonderful.
so.
So anybody else have any final thoughts before we call it a day? Any thoughts? Well, I'll make a thought. We didn't know each other that well, but I think we might have met at the expo. And I got to
We
say
did,
that
yeah.
I really enjoyed having you on the show, and I felt like your energy, you just got great energy, and you're you know, you're just great. And I'm
Thank
really
you,
glad
man.
you were on
I
the show.
appreciate that, Tony.
And it was really fun. And I guess that's all we got. So
Cool.
until next Friday, go out and run a great shop, make a lot of money. That's my
There you go.
thanks,
Have a
guys.
great
Sounds
week,
good. Well,
everyone.
thanks
Yep.
so
Bye,
much, you guys. I
everybody.
appreciate it.
Okay.
Have a good day, y'all.
Okay. See
Thank
ya.
you. Bye-bye.